Hello and welcome to Ragnall's Forge. In this video we're going to be looking at the Plague Ranger. Now the Plague Ranger is a Necromancer build that takes advantage of a couple of changes that are on the UOAlive server. The Command Undead spell from the Necromancy Mastery lets us take control of a couple of undead. Now there is a few different types of undead that you can take control of and have basically as pets. There's a few different ones you can pick from on the server. I've got two skeletal dragons, and I use those as one of my sources of damage. The build has a number of magic-based skills in here, so we'll go over the skills and then we'll go over sort of how the build works and the whole idea behind it. So obviously we've got archery, 120. We've got chivalry, that's capped at 80. Hiding is a free skill on the UOAlive server, so that's not included in the skill cap. We've got GM Magery, we've got GM Necromancy, we've got Poisoning at 120, but realistically I could drop that down to 100 because I've got 120 archery, it's not actually needed above 100. We've got GM Spirit Speak, and we've got 100 tactics, so that 20 poisoning I could really put into tactics, which I probably will do at some point. The idea behind this build is we are using archery as our main damage dealer, but we're using the elven composite longbows, and the reason we're doing that is because we want to take advantage of Serpent Arrow. And what Serpent Arrow does is it allows us to apply poison to a target at range, and because the poisoning level and archery level is so high, we can actually apply deadly poison at distance. Along with this, because we've got such a high poisoning level, we can also use a few of the magery spells such as Poison Field and poison directly, allowing us to have a little bit of area control by dropping down deadly poison fields everywhere. We've got Necromancy, so we have a whole lot of debuffs that we can apply on the enemy, and because we're using the Necromancy Mastery, we also have access to Conduit. What Conduit does is it allows us to target an area, and then it gives us the buff, and this allows us to basically cast Necromancy spells in an AoE for a few seconds. So what we could do is throw down a deadly poison field, fire Conduit down in that same area, and then hit everything in that area with Strangle, for example. And it will do reduced damage, does about 69% of the normal damage. It depends on what your necromancy levels are and your spirit speak levels are, will determine how much damage it does. With just being at GM and GM, I haven't got a great chance of casting it, but it gives me a... No, it's not going to let me cast it again, is it? Oh, there we go. We've got a 69% strength of all targets within that area, and it's a relatively decent sized area. If you've got a few things bunked up together, you'll be able to apply like a strangle to everything in that area. Another one of the ideas behind this build is it's a damage over time build, so it's not designed for burst damage. Instead, it's about building up the damage over longer periods of fighting. We've also got chivalry supplementing our archery as well, and one of the bonuses of using the elven composite bow is we have access to the Slayer longbow. The Slayer longbow is made through the fletching table. So we go into weapons and we go across one, and there it is, a Slayer longbow. This is a recipe that you get from Heartwood, but the way this works is it's an elven composite longbow, but every time you craft one you get a random Slayer. So you can see here I got a dragon, this one's a Reapon Slayer, but I also have in my messy box we've got a Dragon Slayer, or we've got just a random bow. We've got an Elemental Slayer, we've got a Silver Slayer. You can get literally any Slayers out of it, and because we're using these bows as our primary bow, it's perfect for this build. Now the gear itself and the way the stats are designed, we're kind of having a mix of decks like an ABC Archer suit and an LRC suit mixed together. So we're wanting to max out our dexterity and stamina as much as possible. We want to try and maintain that 1.25 attack speed with the Slayer longbow, or as close to as we can possibly get. I don't actually know what my attack speed is. 1.5, and if we do Divine Fury, yeah, we're still at 1.5. Yeah, 1.5 is good enough for me. You can see my resistances here. My resistances are slightly buffed because I have used refinements on my armor just to give me some boosted resistances. I have talked about refinements in another video, and this is essentially the opposite of what I've done with my Blood Knight. I've taken away from the max defense chance and increased my maximum resistances by 5 points in 3 different ones. The suit itself is one that I've sort of built and put together. You've got things like stamina increase, mana regen, LRC, dexterity and intelligence bonuses. We've got the prismatic lenses, which basically apply a hit low defense debuff on the target, makes things easier to hit for both me and the dragons. We've got, gloves of feudal grape. We've got, custom made pieces, and a crimson signature and everything, and we're using a mana phase and orbs, so we get that extra LRC, LMC and hit chance. Boots, we're using the detective boots just for the extra intel. But overall, the build is pretty good. And I think gear wise, we've done pretty well to get the gear that we currently have. So let's have a look at how it works in practice. So let's head over to Destard. I like Destard. Destard is a good place for me to sort of make sure that builds are working properly. Alright, looks like there's some people already in here. Let's see if I can remember what all my macros are for this build, because I haven't actually played it in a little while. There's a little bit of mana juggling that we'll have to do. Oh, here we go. And you can see, well, it's already dead. You can see the amount of damage that we're doing. Here's a good opportunity for... so here's a bonus that we have. We're casting Evil Omen, and we can actually use Evil Omen to heal our dragons, but because we're able to sort of do it in between shots, what ends up happening is our mana, because we've got mana regen on, mana leech on the bow, we end up just leeching back all of our mana. If we were really struggling for mana, one thing that we could do is go into Wraith Form, because we do have access to that. Realistically, I should have been in Vampiric Embrace. There we go. And the reason we want to go in Vampiric Embrace is because, as you saw there, occasionally when I'm healing these dragons, I get given a bleed effect, and by being in Vampiric Embrace, I get the life leech. There's a lot of hotkeys you've got to remember, because I'm not using a spell channeling bow. Anytime I cast any magery spell, it will unequip me, but I have a macro to basically re-equip any bows that I have. Okay. So, honestly, these dragons are not doing as well as I thought they were. They're not giving us a very good example. Let's see if Cora is currently up. Let's try and fell. So, Corv level 5. Ah, she is. So, one thing that we can do... Oh, we need mana. Probably better being in Wraith form for this. There we go. Because what Wraith form does for us is 21% hit mana drain and combine that with the LRC that we have. Oh, one of the dragons is getting a bit low, so we'll just spam some healing spells on him. And then let's just drop a poison field on Cora. Make sure that we've got poison being applied as much as possible. It's always better to drop poison field rather than individually poison every time, just because Cora's gonna basically cure herself. You can hear her curing herself in there. So I just want to make sure that I'm maintaining these heals. Drop down a strangle. Put the poison field back down again. Chuck on another strangle. I want to basically keep up as many damage over time effects as we possibly can. You can see all the damage numbers there that are coming up. As soon as the poison gets cured, it just gets reapplied again. And you can see our mana's full. Make sure we've got enemy 1 up, because we do have access to chivalry. More damage we do, more mana we're draining, more spells we can chuck out. Oh. There we go. So you can see we're over a longer fight, we're able to keep the damage going, keeping the heals up because we're draining back lots of mana. We're able to cast poison field whenever it wears out. We can keep strangle up, well, most of the time we can keep strangle up. And if mana starts running a little bit low, what we can do is we can just turn off our chivalry buffs for a little while. Want to make sure enemy 1's still up though. Oh, wrong spell. Alright, and there we have it. We even got a bright blade for our troubles. Not the best weapon in the world, but, you know, it's loot. So, there we go. Nice and easy. And we got all this loot as well. And you can loot the gold if you want to. Let's head back to the forge. Oh yeah, I changed my runes. Forgot about this. My forge has had a few changes and I haven't updated all the runes on all of my characters yet. Oh, stupid dragon. Come on. This way. Still need to get a replacement dragon for this one. One of them has got 199 dexterity, the other one hasn't. And ideally I want to get 199 dexterity on both if I can. Alrighty. So that's just a basic overview of the Plague Ranger. More information can be found on the UOAlive Discord, where I have a full breakdown of all of the skills and some more of the tactics that you can use. Gear wise, as I mentioned before, you want to have a combination of a dex suit and an LRC suit. So this kind of suit is not for is not really one I would recommend to a newer player. This is more of an advanced suit. You're going to need to get a nice combination of everything, because you need to include hit chance, swing speed, mana, low mana cost, damage increase, LRC, spell damage doesn't really matter, resist, stats. There's a lot involved in building this suit, and it's not that easy. It took me a little while to put this one together, but it's doable, totally doable. This shows that it's totally doable. But this is a nice, fun, off-meta build. It's obviously not going to do the best damage in the game, and it's not going to be able to solo absolutely everything in the game, but it's a nice alternative to all of the, you know, cookie cutter sort of builds that are out there, like the Sampire and the Tamers, and the spell weaving mages and stuff like that. Something a little bit different, and something that's sort of exclusive to the UOAlive server, because we're taking elements, like I said earlier, from necromancy and the Hemomancer side of things, and then we're introducing things like poisoning, archery, chivalry, so that we're a ranged damage dealer as well, and just sort of combining so many different elements together so that we can command undead. And one thing I didn't mention as well, we also do have access to the full necromancy spellbook, so we can do animate dead if we wanted to. And we've got 2 skeletal dragons that are under our command. We can also raise an extra 3 undead as well. So in theory, we could technically have 5 skeletal dragons on the go at any given time. So under the right circumstances, this build can be rather powerful if you've got summoned up creatures, you've got poison going around everywhere. I mean, you also have access to wither, you know, so you can sort of run around champ spawns doing wither, putting down poison fields everywhere. You got your dragons running around doing stuff. Maybe I'll do a video on that in the future, you know, showing how effective it can be with AoE as well. But yeah, if you do have any comments or questions about the build, you can like I said before, you can find the build on the UOAlive Discord server under the skill build section, and you can always grab me there if you have any questions about it. But that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.